Richard,
Hey, how's it going?
good. What's going on, man?
Just trying to get this pulse thing to work. Basically, it's not going to work though. It failed to like fetch the song for whatever reason this time. Which I still
Too
need.
bad.
I wish I just had like a song on my computer that I could just play instead of like everything is always like fetching from the internet and failing to do so. I wish stuff was more reliable.
It's the internet for you. Oh, with our overpaid internet. Well, you're in the States, so never mind. It's cheaper for you.
I guess so.
Yeah, Mint Mobile, like $15 plans. Crazy.
Yeah, I've heard that the way they do it is they have like fully automated customer service, and like you can like sign up for a whole plan. Like you don't have to talk to anyone. There's no physical stores. So they've cut out like all the humans, and it's just like use a website to activate and sign up for your plan, and you pay basically three months at a time. I think you enter like to a 3-month contract. It may be like prepaid even, and so all of that combined means that they can achieve a lower cost because you never have to like call someone on the phone.
That's how it's done. I like it. I would sign over immediately.
Well, yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I ended up dropping my own personal plan. And they did not want to let me go. They're like, well, what can we do? What deals can we offer you to keep you? And it's like, hey, I've been trying for years to get a better deal from you guys. I'm done. They're like, well, can we ask you what your other offers? I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you what my other offer is. In my head, it's like, there is no other offer. But it's like, nope, I'm not telling you anything. I am moving on. And they say, okay, well, we're going to transfer you to this other department in order to let you go. And they'll do the disconnection. And then they transfer me over. And this other lady's like, so what kind of deal did you get? And how can we make this right? And I was like, well, can't make it right. I've given you a couple of years to try to make it right. And then when she said, okay, we'll disconnect you, they haven't disconnected me yet. And they've been calling me repeatedly to try to keep me on the plan. So they haven't disconnected me yet, but I said, like, I don't want to pay anymore. So
yeah.
Anyway, I still have my
basically,
number.
Like all that needs to be like illegal. They just need to write the laws that say that. Like I think the law they're trying to pass is that it should be as easy to quit as it is to sign up. If signing up is like clicking a button on a website, then there should be a button you can click on a website that's, disconnect. And it should be like illegal to like string someone along and like make them jump through like hoops to like get out.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't have the total of how many times they called, but I've seen at least 5 since the last time I checked on my other phone. So I'm just using my work number now, and it's, it's Bell. It is what it is. It's free, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's weird how many people are involved with like trying to like, I don't know, just like their job is to like call people and try to get them to do something they don't want to do. Like that's like how many people are employed by just this idea of like trying to make us do stuff that is not in our best interest.
Well, I'm going to answer the next time. I'm going to be like, okay, I'll stay with you guys for $0 a month.
They'll find some way to do it. They'll be like, okay, sign here. Okay. And you're like, what did I just sign?
They don't want to lose numbers, I guess, right? I mean, if they lose customers, I don't know if that affects shareholders or if that's all based off of like what their money is, what their income is, but they really don't want to let me go. But anyway, it feels good to let that cost go because what is it? I mean, I had mine down to $50 a month because I would call them and harass them often, but they would never go lower than that. So actually it was 45 after tax. It was 50-ish. So that's me saving $600 a year. It's not too bad, man. That's a couple free dinners. But they still have my number active, so I'm getting voicemails from work and medical side trying to like who leaves voicemails anymore? Just you got my damn email. Leave me an email.
Yeah, it's weird how much they don't want to put things in writing almost.
Yeah, it's weird. Some do it, and then others feel compelled to call.
I always feel like I would pay if some for example, Mint Mobile is fully automated, and this promise that like everything will work and you'll never have to talk to a person. I feel like that's the thing I would pay more for. I feel like if a company is trying to make money and get me to pay more, all they got to do is cut out this like me talking to a bunch of people on the phone. If they can just do that, I'll pay them extra to not have to do that. And if a company just upfront said like, this is our whole plan is to help you pay us, this amount of money, and we do the work for you. And if you want to leave, you can, like, you pay extra for the privilege of leaving seamlessly. If they had like an automated system to do that, if I could like adjust like in real time, if I could adjust how many gigabytes I have, and if I could sort of like, I would pay a certain amount of money for the gigabytes I use, which each month is often zero. I don't use that much data, but like I pay for all this data that I'm not using. And I just want to, I'd pay a high price for like the thing that I want, which they could offer me by just not intentionally getting in my way all the time. Like it's sort of a weird system. Like they think they're making me pay more, but like I would be willing to pay more than I do for them to just not like transparently not try to trick me and prove that to me somehow, than to like do all these like shenanigans.
So
for some reason,
you're in the States, so lots of people, lots of infrastructure, and also, I heard that why do they charge Canadians more? Because we'll pay. That's why they charge us more. So I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because we're all spaced out and all that infrastructure, but Canadians will pay. And that's the problem, is as long as people will pay, you can put the prices at whatever you want. I mean, like food and stuff, we had no choice. We got to buy what's there, or we don't eat, right? We can try to shop and find a bargain, but like the CEOs were dragged into Parliament and, questioned as to why they're hiking it way beyond inflation. Well, the answer is greed, but, they were held accountable. What came of that, I don't know. But when it comes to like services, yeah, they have it more expensive than it needs to be because they simply can do it. Now, if Mint Mobile came to Canada and offered its $15, whatever that is in Canadian dollars, $25 a month even, let's say, it is going to drastically change things. Like, that is huge competition. Everybody's going to go to Mint Mobile. Why wouldn't they? They'd be crazy not to. But I guess, like, the infrastructure isn't here. Or they'd have to go off of Bell or Rogers or something. And they're going to have their fees and their costs. So I think it's ridiculous. I don't know, Richard. I'm tired of living in Canada, man. It's too damn expensive. The taxes are too high. I was sitting at work actually playing some cards there with the boys. And I was like, for what we're taxed, because they're talking about they're all employees. I was the only military dude in the room. And they're like, oh yeah, because we went on strike for 2 minutes, we get this $2,500 bonus, which apparently is going to help us out if we're near retirement. And they look at your last 5 years. I'm like, wait. So military doesn't get pay increases because we follow you guys and your strike bullshit. But then they just toss you a $2,500 bone just to get you off the picket line that the military doesn't get. So why are you making even more than the military when you guys don't fucking do anything that the military does? We got to move around. We got to be deployed. We got to, get shot at. And we make 20% more than you do. And then now they're going to toss you $2,500 more because you went on strike. We can't go on strike.
I always found that odd because it's like those people are like citizens of Canada that have like the right to go on strike. And like, so are we. We're citizens of Canada too. And theoretically, we are also defending the rights that we're defending Canada and the rights that it gives its citizens, which being in the military, you don't get. Like, you don't get these basic rights that citizens have that like we're working to defend, which is like, that's always weird to me, is like, why like if everyone in Canada is in the military defending the rights they have, then no one has any rights. Then what are we defending? Like, but it's like this recursive thing where it's like, wait, like shouldn't I at least get the rights that I am working so hard to protect? Like, or else why would I defend them? Why wouldn't I just go enjoy the rights while they last and then like let someone else take over the country?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We get our rights though, but it's our freedoms what they take away. So like our freedom of expression is, put on
Yeah.
hold, and there was mobility as well, so they can. Okay, I don't know if you can hear that. It's a very loud vehicle accelerating, but like freedom of mobility, they can take away too, and then incarcerate you like anybody else. But they also can confine you to barracks and lock you down
It
and
is
make it so.
strange though. Like it feels like the freedoms that we enjoy, like in Canada, are like kind of important to continuing those freedoms. But then to like take them away and say that like they'll still be there waiting for you at some point is sort of like, well, I don't like I need those freedoms to ensure that those freedoms remain in place. Otherwise, like losing like like the freedom of speech to a certain extent means that if they kind of alter the deal, you're not allowed to talk about it or something like that. It's uh like I should at least have the ability to like as an individual and as a group of individuals like say how we're being treated if we don't agree that it's fair. Uh because that's the only way to like ensure that it's fair. And if they're like, "Oh, just trust us. We figured it out and we're not using democracy," it's like, but you told me democracy is the good system, and we're like inside the military we're using not democracy, and you're just telling me like that it's all going to work out. But like clearly it's like it clearly there's pain points and it's not working out, and the reason is maybe because like we need some more democratic rights like inside the place, inside the thing, inside the country that's democratic.
What we need
But
is we
yeah.
need to be paid more for the hardships that we're forced to deal with. That's what needs to happen. People are like, oh, 6 figures for a major, that's good. I mean, well, with the inflation and the cost of owning a home and moving around all the time and losing equity on your home because you're forced to sell when the market's shit, and you don't get it all back because the compensation, the benefits don't actually top you up 100%, which is madness. And even still, I mean, like if you're forced to sell during a slump, it might be better just to hold on to it until the market recovers. But like they move us around. It puts pressure on families if the families even choose to stick around. I'm having to move around on my own because every relationship I have, even though it's good up to the point of moving, they don't want to leave their support networks. Can't blame them. Why would they want to leave their family? Why? Like the family is what keeps us strong. It's a need, and being forced around to go to different locations, sometimes shitty postings, then having to be deployed and be shot at and everything else. It's like we don't get paid enough for that sacrifice for putting on the uniform because the civilians here don't appreciate it. Canadians don't appreciate their military, not like the Americans do. Like I went and I drove through the states, and I'll never forget this. When I was going through training, I was just either pretty sure I was a second lieutenant at the time. So I'm going from Alberta where I'm posted, which was a horrible posting, by the way, shitty posting. And the only reason why I was able to survive it was because I actually had my dad's side of the family out there. But I drove through the states to save on gas. It was more direct, and I stopped at a Denny's. And I asked him, "Hey, do you have a
Yeah.
military discount?" I probably already said this story. And they're like, "Well, yeah. Well, you know what? This meal's free. Oh, and here's a voucher for another meal." I'm like, "What?" It's like I'm not in the United States military. I'm in the Canadian military. They're like, "Well, you're in the military. Thank you for your service. We love that shit." And it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Military discounts here? They look at you like, "What's that? Who cares if you're in the military?" Oh, and then if you do get it, you save less than the taxes. And it's just like there's no appreciation. I don't even want to wear my uniform out in public. There's just no pride anymore. I don't even want to wear my uniform at work. Every time I put my uniform on, I'm like, just for instance, like they're so fucking cheap that the shirts that we have, they fit the shoulders, they fit the neck, and then they're meant to fit like a fucking blow up clown because it's so wide that by the time I'm done tucking it in, it's ridiculous. It looks horrible. And, you know, a reasonable person would be like, well, I'm going to get this tailored. Tailors are like, well, that's $20, $25 in tax. And the shirts get dirty. You drop something on it, they're stained. You can't wear it anymore. And the military won't pay for tailoring because the bureaucracy is like, okay, yeah, we won't reimburse you for this because it's a service that's provided by clothing stores, which is located an hour and a half round trip from anywhere in Ottawa. So you got to travel an hour and a half to get your stuff. No, times two, because you got to go drop it off and then pick it up again. And so I went to the tailors. I was like, okay, so I got some shirts to drop off. They're like, we don't do this. We don't do that. Unless you've gained a significant amount of weight, or no, unless you lost a significant amount of weight, and we get commanding officer approval. The fuck are you guys talking about?
Yeah, just like whatever arbitrary requirements they want.
Everybody, like, nobody fits this shirt. Nobody. Even the fat, obese people in the military, which we should not fucking have, cannot properly fit their shirt. It's too baggy. And like, I could try to get a shirt with a super tight neck and just like really, really small shoulders, and it will be trim, but then it just looks ridiculous. I've tried it. It does not look good. So they won't do it. And I was an asshole for asking, apparently. And so I go back and I ask, hey, so clothing stores will not do this thing that you're saying is a service provided. Can I get reimbursed? No. Not something that's covered under the policy regulation. So we wear this dress uniform that looks like a gown or like a pregnancy gown on us. I don't know if that's a good way of putting it. I liked it before, blown up fucking clown outfit. And it looks horrible. So how are you supposed to have any pride in the uniform when they can't even tailor it for you? People are probably like, well, fucking just get it tailored. But think about it. I mean, it adds up. It can be hundreds of dollars a year. Why do I need to pay that for a uniform that I'm forced to wear? Why can't they tailor it? Or why can't they get shirts that fit people as we're supposed to be in the military? And this is just another one of those things that drive me absolutely crazy. It
all seems like it's just weird. Like adding all that stuff up, it seems like, and that was sort of my experience, was like being in the military was not like, for all these things that you're mentioning, like it wasn't very like pleasant, and it was like it sort of left me with like not really being like proud of Canada, basically. And then I sort of at the end I sort of thought like, you know, like if I have like less rights than a Canadian person, and I'm sort of just like giving up, like sort of sacrificing myself for the benefit of someone else, then how is that like different than any other system that I might be inside, like in any other country where like some leader of the country is telling me that like I must sacrifice myself for the good of the country or the benefit of others or something? And it was like, but those are the people we're fighting against, right? Like those are like a country where everyone in the country is like told like you have to work under these terrible conditions because I say so, because you're doing it for the greater good in the name of like our nation or whatever. Then one day there'll be a better life for all of us. And like, but I mean, that's just the exact same logic on our side inside the military, is like, we don't have certain rights. We have to put up with certain things that like are not really a problem for like the average Canadian, because the quality of life is like high enough and good enough. But then it's sort of like, but sort of this knowledge of like if I'm not like, I just feel like enjoying the rights directly is defending them. Like the more people that have the rights that Canadians like praise, the better in terms of giving more people like the understanding of what those rights mean and the pride in them and the willingness to like defend them on call. But sort of like spending enough time in the military, you just feel like, well, if Canada's doing this to its own people, clearly it doesn't understand like in depth like what it actually means to be a Canadian or like to enjoy those rights. If it like a large part of the people in Canada working on behalf of Canada are like missing some things that lead them to like just be agitated with the system in the same way that like other like I mean we sometimes we go overseas and we try to free people from that style of oppression, but it's like what would we tell those people? Like come to Canada, join the military and have a similar oppressed state, but do it in the name of Canada rather than like whatever your guy's telling you to do it in the name of. I feel like the answer has to be like, let's just have everyone live free with the basic human rights and just go from there, you know, like, and people will see that as like the beneficial option and choose it explicitly and sort of turn to that side rather than needing guns to enforce that in some regard, and then having the people that have the guns not have the rights to do anything other than like work on command, to like I don't know, like I don't even know what's going on at that point. So I don't know. Yeah, like I have like sort of a confusion around all of this stuff, and I don't know. Lately, I've been working through like my own personal like philosophy, which sort of I pull on different things and trying to find like a meaningful way to get fulfillment in my life based on different things that I've thought about. That's what I'm sort of working on now. Because I'm now like tired of just thinking about how pointless like the whole international system is and the depressing nature of the news like these days. I just want some way to like intake all of that and still feel like a sense of like peace with it all somehow. And I feel like I'm making progress like towards that kind of feeling in my own self.
If you want to progress, cut out the fucking news. That stuff is tragic and depressing, and it's because we got what's called negative. Yeah. We have what's called negative bias. It's an evolution thing. We focus on the negative. We dwell on the negative because the negative, and outside of civilization, before our technology, like we had to focus on the threats and what was bad because it was a survival thing. We wanted to make sure that a particular animal wasn't going to hurt us, or like we looked at a rock and we're like, there's something dangerous behind that rock possibly, so I better not move it, or like we're a lot more cautious. That's built into us because fucking anything and everything would want to kill us. Like there's a lot of dangerous shit out there, and so when something actually bad does happen to us, we stew on it a lot more. So like we could have 10 good experiences, but it's that one bad experience that we keep revisiting. And we keep having a hard time getting over because our brain is learning from it. It needs to process that shit so we don't make that mistake again. Because the next time it could kill us. So we have a near encounter with a predator, right? We're going to remember that. Or we get the shit kicked out of us from bullies, we're going to remember that because it was a horrible thing, and we adapt and grow from it. So
that makes sense.
We have this thing called negative bias, and that's why the news is mostly negative shit because that's what draws people in, and that's why people talk shit about others because it kind of hot wires connection in a way. You have like this common hatred for somebody, and you're united in that moment. But your only thing that's uniting you is that hatred for that person, that talking shit. So, like, if you want to grow as a person and be happy, cut out that excessive negativity from the news, and I'm sure other things too. Like negative people, for instance. And people are constantly negative, and they're crying wolf, or they're always saying they're sick, and when they're not. I mean, if you're surrounding yourself with these people, these helpless people, it's going to affect you as well. And it's just like if you want to like shred weight and get a six-pack, cut the carbs. Rather cut the high glycemic carbs and lower your caloric intake and lower the amount of carbohydrates you have. So do carb cycling. And you got to remove some of the shit that's causing you to put the weight on, the pad on. It's not the same kind of thing, but you know what I mean? It's like cutting out what's actually causing the issue.
Yeah, the idea of like, sorry to cut you off. I don't.
But what I was going to say is that people love their carbs like they love their negativity. We love it.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
Can't get enough of it.
Yeah, there, like you say, there's like a bias in that direction. Yeah, like cutting it out is one approach, which I did that for a while, and that works basically. Like you start to feel more positive. There's always like little things that creep in. I found with me, like I'll eventually, like it's like a diet or something. Like I end up going back to it, or I overhear things, and it impacts me. Yeah, my current focus is something like this idea that like if we look at news items and we say they're negative, or using your other example, like we look at our stomach and we say like we want like a six pack, and that if we sort of classify like a six pack as good and not a six pack, like like a keg or whatever stomach shape, as like bad, and we classify the news as like mostly negative, and we try to avoid the negative and move towards the positive. But lately what I've been doing is thinking like that like there isn't really, like if I look at a news item and it's like, for lack of a better term, like negative, sometimes I decide now that like there is really no such thing as negative. There's only like a thing that happened, and I try to do this thing where I sort of consider like all things that happen to be equal in some regard. And so then like moving towards like the six pack analogy is sort of like one way. Like if I decide that I want a six pack, one thing I could do is like cut out carbs, but the other thing I can do to reach the same fulfillment that I might have by getting a six pack is to just decide that whatever my stomach looks like right now, which is like slightly out of shape, I could just decide that that's the way it is, and there's no difference. Like any stomach shape in the end is like arbitrary in some way. And there's almost this interesting thing where I could say that like my desire to not have a six pack and like my desire to want to have a six pack, that desire is an experience of like the human condition. And the thing that is valuable in life is experiencing various emotions and things like that. And like there's been times in my life where like I wanted a thing and I got the thing. And so I know this trajectory of like this, wanting a thing and then the payoff and stuff. But really the place that I feel that we can never escape from is like wanting, like, like as the human experience is like to want things. And so we are kind of always like, even if we're slightly blinded by like getting something we want and we forget temporarily that there's still things that we do want, we're always kind of in this infinite state of just wanting something. And so then like if we take like the, instead of like thinking that like we need to get a six pack and that's something that we need to do, I feel almost like, what if the thing that I need to do is just to sit here and experience the feeling of wanting something, which in this case is like a six pack, and to basically realize that like I can never feel more fulfilled than in this moment right now where I want something that I don't have. This is it, like this is the state that perhaps I'll be into infinity, sort of thing. And then sort of bringing it back to the news, like it's the same thing with that as well. Like, I read a news item and I feel sad, and then I think, well, I want to feel happy, but like, what if like the thing that's important for me to do is just experience the feeling of sadness as part of the human condition, as part of existing in that one instant of time, and feel a sense of like, this is my purpose. Like right now in this one instant, my entire brain and my body is exactly conditioned for this one moment of experiencing this sadness for a infinitely short amount of time. And then sort of just declaring that like I am in complete acceptance with that this is what's going on in this moment, and sort of like a feeling of like, this is as good as it's ever going to get. Like no matter what happens in the future, there's always going to be the way I feel in this one instant of time. And like, I'm never going to get a six pack in this instant of time. Like I certainly know that for sure is like, if I ever do get a six pack, it will be, weeks or months from now. And so certainly in this one instant of time, if I wanted to experience like fulfillment in this one moment, which maybe I could do, I would have to sort of come to terms with like, well, I don't have that thing that I want right now, almost. And so I'm sort of approaching this in like different ways, but like, that's sort of what I'm working with these days.
You can do what everybody else does and just eat more carbs.
Eat more.
Eat more carbs. You want to feel good in the moment, eat more carbs, right? Oh,
but even then, though, I mean, still I would be faced with like, I would decide to eat more carbs, but there would be some amount of time that I would have to wait before I would be able to get those carbs, eat them, and for them to have like effect. But like, if I sort of,
you know that eating carbs creates like instant gratification. Come on.
Well, like instant, like at the rate that I like move the food to like my mouth. Like I have to like wait for my hand to like bring it to my mouth and wait for like the metabolism or something. But I mean like in this like split instant of time where like it's impossible to do anything other than like exist for one like split second. Like this idea that like that's all we have, because the other thought experiment is like someone made this idea called like a Boltzmann brain, which I'm interested in, which is this idea that like it's more like if we're talking about like we have a brain that we believe exists in the world, and there's this whole long many centuries of history like in our past, and we're sort of in this moment in time, and there will be a future. It says that like it's more probable that like random particles just happened to spontaneously come together in a way that created like our brain in the state that it's in right now, with all of the memories that we think we have of the past history. And really what's happening is like this matter just spontaneously like arranged itself in this shape of a brain for one moment, such that we believe that there's a passage of time and a future and all these things that happened in the past, but really it's just like a sporadic like arrangement of particles. And then perhaps like in the next instant they will then disperse and become like something else again. And like that's kind of equivalent to this idea like, maybe we're in a simulation or something like that. But this theory is kind of interesting for that, because it's like maybe like it's sort of like this possibility of maybe all we do have is this one instant. Like we sort of like don't know the length of time that we have like ahead of us to sort of wait for things. And so like if in fact we do just have this one instant of existence, then working under those conditions, how do we get like this ultimate, how do we live the perfect life that we want to live in this one instant where we don't have time to do anything, and the only sort of way to achieve that is just to decide almost retroactively that like whatever we've done in our past and whatever we're doing right now, that is the perfect like, and this sort of works for everyone, like whatever anyone has done, they could just declare like that is the perfect existence because it's equivalent to like any other existence, and just be like in total acceptance of that. And like that, it's interesting because that's kind of like the one thing that's kind of under our control, is just the ability to like decide that. But then anything we want beyond that is perhaps something that we might get one day or we might never get. But it's like this idea of like, if we can just come to terms with our existence and the existence of that want, then we're sort of in control. We can just have, if the thing we want is just to want things and never get them, then we get that for free almost. And that, I don't know, I feel like that's a strategy. It's like one technique that can be used to like cope. I don't know, I guess it's like everything's like a coping mechanism. Like this is like just an idea for like, if something bothers us, this is like a possible path we can take to like just kind of return to a feeling of like being at peace, or that like in the grand scheme, like nothing matters, everything's kind of equal. So whatever we're doing right now is
What
correct.
comes to mind with what you're saying is Buddhism. Because, like, this whole pursuit of a particular feeling is the root of misery and suffering. So it's
Yeah.
us pursuing that next feeling, that next goal, that next state of mind, and that chase is what causes us suffering. And it really does when you think about it. When we can't be happy with what we have in this moment, the health that we have, the everything. When we lose sight of what it is we have, when we lose gratitude because we're chasing the next thing, then our minds are not present. They're scattered. And it's really hard to not pursue the next thing, the next want. Like, how do you not do that?
Yeah.
And I suppose that requires training and awareness and meditation.
It is interesting that there's this idea that we can accidentally pursue these wants, and that if we decide that our purpose is to sort of resist that, if we accidentally give in and we get something we want, that is failing in some way. But I feel like I now view that as no matter what we do, even if we sort of totally give in, we give in to all our wants, and we die sort of wanting things and never being satisfied. I feel like that too is equivalent. That's an equivalent existence. It's different. It's a different set of events, but it's somehow the same. It's there's no this idea that there's no way to fail, because failing is an experience that one can have, and all experience is kind of equivalent and interesting. And if we never experience complete failure, then that's an experience we won't have had in life. And so that might be something that we do want to experience. And if we happen to experience this massive failure all throughout our life until we die a failure, then that is a unique life that is just as valuable as any other. And we could be proud to have had that experience. And then the only thing is it's nice if at some point in that life we can for a moment feel that everything happened exactly perfectly. And I'm talking about the life where everything is a failure. If for some moment in that life we can step back and just say this is the things that happened to me, and I agree with it and I accept it, and and I value that, because in this moment I am this sentient thing that believes that all these things happened, and if you changed any one of those things, you'd be a different in a different state of mind, a different thing. And it's what can we do other than value the current thing that we believe we are, this self, our brain analyzes itself, it has a self-awareness, and the self that we're aware of is the collection of whatever happened to us up until now. And we can't I think it's sort of a silly thing to wish we were different in some way, and then think that that would be to then assign better and worse to that. I feel is moving in the wrong direction. It's sort of as soon as you assign better and worse, it leads to this wanting the better and getting rid of the worse, and this this ability to just infinitely chasing or something. Yeah.
But that's what sells. So you have all these commercial constructs. You have society telling you need to be away, live this particular lifestyle. It's extravagant. It's great. You have lots of friends. You'll be well liked. They know how to pull. They must have psychologists there, because they know how to pull all of our strings. And it's consumerism. It's society. It's civilization. It's the problem. And that pushing on us, that constant advertising and pushing on us, even in the fucking movies, right? You got the superheroes, these people that are just not real, this sci-fi stuff. It makes us want more than what we have. It causes us to yearn and to think of a world that doesn't exist. And it's great to daydream. It's fun. It's nice to, especially if you hate your current life because it's fucking miserable and you work 12 hours a day and you don't have any any money to do anything except, or you're in debt all the time. I mean, I get how it is out there. It's pretty rough. So I can understand when people want to escape, but you know, they want more. I mean, I get that they want to have a better standard of living where they're not constantly stressed about, having a roof over their head. I get that. Then you got people that, have it, that are middle class, and then they're bombarded with ads about living this luxurious lifestyle. And, you could have a great paying job. You can have food on your table. You could be sleeping 8 hours a day. You should prioritize that. You could have a community and friends, but you just want more, and you want more because it's pushed on you that you need to have more. And I think that's the issue. I think it's consumerism. It's the commercials. It's the standard of beauty as well. So you're not on the dating scene, but I am. I think the standard of beauty is just fucking ridiculous. It's unattainable. Or I should say that, average is still considered attractive, but average looking people don't think they're attractive because of, the exposure of the ads, the advertisings, like the Victoria's Secret models or the super jacked heroes like Thor, or everybody's like super muscular built. That's what people want to see, and so it's like is that the standard of beauty now? It seems like it. Like I talk to women all the time, and they feel like they're inadequate. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. You're as attractive as they come, and they're like, they don't see it. And actually, I'm talking to one that's near Poland right now, just chatting because they're from a group from that Art of Living event. So we ended up starting to talk, and I don't know why it came up, but anyway, the topic of beauty. And, I said, well, she looks good based off her pictures. She doesn't think so. Shows me a picture of a Victoria's Secret model. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, sure, she has a nice slim body, but I mean, she's rocking the bitch face. I don't know how her personality is. Not my type. I said, you're my type. And, I'm like not trying to hit on her or compliment her, but, it went the right direction because I think that she's also exposed to, an unrealistic standard of beauty as well.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely interesting. Like, I feel like one thing that I think is kind of fun is this idea of like taking, like almost like seeking out like ugly things on purpose, and then sort of like giving like like making like a film or something, and like giving the viewer like information through the film that convinces them that what they're looking at is a beautiful thing. And I feel like it's kind of fun to think about, like, could you make a film where like the first scene of the film is like a classically like ugly thing, whatever it is, and then like by the end of the film it's like you're seeing the same thing, but like your opinion is totally changed about that object. Like you now think it's profound and beautiful in its own way as anything is. And then just doing that as sort of like a point of like showing the viewer, like I can show you something that you think right now is ugly, but I can show you a series of steps that you all like, you sort of agree to go on this journey, which then leaves you with no footing, like not with no, like sort of thinking that like, yeah, everything that you see could be the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen. And it's like, if you think that something you saw was more beautiful, then you're always going to think it's too bad you can't see that all the time. Like, it's more like, it's like, but what if, like anything, what if we could just decide that everything that we see is equal to anything other than we see? And it's mostly just about like, can we come to this realization that like, going back to this thing, like in this one instant, whatever we're looking at right now is the most beautiful thing that we've experienced and seen and anything.
Yes, you can do that.
I don't know.
You can.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that idea.
Do you want to know how?
Yeah, I mean,
there's. Not even joking with you, psychedelics. I mean,
I guess the
did
interesting thing is like I almost feel like you sort of also feel like there's no idea of like like taking psychedelics or not, I feel like we could just we sort of by existing maybe like we're in a state of like on psychedelics, like that sort of idea. Like it's not like our state is what it is and there's a heightened state. Like maybe we already are in a heightened state, and and psychedelics too is like an arbitrary, like it puts us into another arbitrary sort of place. Or maybe, yeah, maybe it does break down the structures that our brain like thinks it has a little bit, so that we're more free to reach these conclusions that perhaps we can reach other without psychedelics. But perhaps perhaps it's like that helps us on the journey just as many other, there's like many tools that can help us on our journey faster or something like that, I guess.
I hope so. I do. And I'm thinking about investing in 3 different companies that have FDA approval to explore psychedelics as a way to cure trauma. And like what you're talking about is like seeing everything as beautiful. I mean, what comes to mind when you say that is, you remember when you were a kid and everything was new?
Yeah, seeing something for the first time is like a thing that you can't do twice or something like that. Yeah, it's very
right.
But you can sort of approach there. You can try to build it. Yeah.
And as we just learn more and experience more in life, things just get duller and duller. Now we can have new experiences, great experiences, but it's kind of like we have these peaks that happen periodically. Less and less with people that have their day job and they're stuck in the rut doing what they're doing, the 9-to-5 job. You got the people that are living like the new rich type lifestyle that, freedom, mobility, they travel, they do crazy shit, they're working remotely, they're constantly experiencing new things. Like those people are constantly seeking those peaks, that new, and there's tons of it. I mean, there's so many, the world is so vast, we can do that if we have the resources. If we have the resources, we could have constant new all the time and be like a child. And I imagine the world will seem like a much more beautiful place. And that's one of my goals, is one of my objectives, is to break away from the military, find a steady stream of income, and travel. Not just travel to like go to hostels, or like to actually go and see incredible things and rare experiences. To really put myself out there. And not even having to worry about coming home. I won't even set a date to come home. It would be a one-way ticket out, and I'm just gonna go with the basic stuff that I have, so that I can experience what's out there, the different cultures. And I know there's gonna be some bad with the good, but I'm gonna obviously do some research. And the idea is to maybe, have the new experiences like I did as a child, and so there's that piece. And so I think we can actually pursue it if we have realistically the resources and the courage to do so.
I wonder though that until we've gone to these other like places that are physically separate from us, like these overseas, we've gone to these different like countries. Until we've done that and like returned, I guess we can never know like what that experience would lead us to think. But I sort of have like a suspicion that like walking into, I don't know if we have a backyard or if we have like a nearby park or something that we've been to a lot, like walking there again for like the 100th time, I feel like with the right like sort of thought pattern and like perspective, that can be like as fresh and as new. Like we can just sort of see that place, see these familiar places from a different perspective, and they will appear as fresh and new as anything that actually was new could. Like we can see, like we're so used to our own language and our own culture, but like if we can see our own language from like a slightly different perspective, and perhaps we will, like perhaps that's what happens. We go to these other cultures, we forget our own culture, we come back, and then we've forgotten the things that happen in our own neighborhood, and we see them again as if they were like sort of, we remember them freshly for the first time, and then we have this thought of like, wow, like the stuff that I thought was me, that was the old stuff, that stuff, I'm seeing it a bit differently now with this grown perspective from being in all these different cultures, and that boring stuff and my own room and my own wallpaper, like that is all, shocking and new as anything else was. And perhaps it's like perhaps going on this journey to all these different places is like an important, like going through the motions, sort of physically, feeling the journey. But I feel like the ultimate conclusion is kind of just like if we just sort of choose to like be amazed, like look at any object in front of us and just declare like this is the first time I've ever seen this object, whatever it is in front of me, then I feel like we can get somewhere with that. Which like it's much easier, if you go to like a place where you've never seen before, then you just get that for free. But I feel like it's fascinating to try to like invoke that experience just on command, almost like have command of that experience and not have to like, because I mean the world is a set of like finite things. Like eventually we will have seen everything once, and then I wonder like, I mean I guess there's maybe like infinite ways to see something from different perspectives, and so maybe we're always like changing and we can just see the same set of objects, and maybe it's like 1,000 different things that we could visit, and then we could visit them all again with a just slightly different mindset. And
so I see what you're trying to say, and the only reason why I'm not outright dismissing you, saying it's not possible, is because it does happen from time to time with me. So for instance, I'm lying down by my fireplace looking at my bookshelf there, and one of my books and one of the shelves is called The 33 Strategies of War. And I look at that word, war. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time because of my job. And then I actually look at the word. And I look at what it is. And like outside of the meaning. And I'm like, that word is just, it's so basic, but yet we've given it such weight and so much power, but it's WAR. It's a fucking weird looking word. And I looked at it from this different lens, and that happens periodically. So maybe it is possible to look at the same mundane thing we see all the time from a new different perspective. But I think that something needs to happen, though. We need to have other experiences and other hardships in order to awaken that perspective. So for instance, basic indoctrination, 30 days, sleep deprivation, not being allowed to go outside or be free. And it's 7 days, like it's 7 days a week. You are in the boot camp, doing the inspections, doing the physical training, going to the fields, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, enduring extreme hardship, soaking wet, eating shit food, shitting because you're eating shit food. And then you're finally free after the 30 days. And you put on dry clothes, your civilian clothes, you get to go outside. I remember how refreshing it was just to wear nice clothes, to be sheltered after being rained on for 5 days, being able to play a piano again after 30 days, going outside and seeing a fucking squirrel blew my mind. I had such appreciation and gratitude for everything, but it took hardship. So perhaps the key to being able to see things new again with a new lens by experiencing hardship. Or
that's the thing that I like. I really like chasing that feeling of like being in an uncomfortable position for some amount of time and like not having things, and then that transition of going back to having things. That's a really fun thing that I find to do.
I get that doing the backpacking, the backcountry trips. But also when I'm doing the backcountry trips, life is so simple and the people are wonderful that I meet. And, so there's that. And I go back to the world of luxury. And I actually kind of want to just go back on the trail again because, I mean, I love that shit. I really do.
Isn't it weird, like this idea that like in the middle of basic training, one morning we might like stand up with our eyes closed, feeling a certain temperature and like a certain amount of rest or whatever. And then like if you're on a backpacking trip on your own casual like vacation, you might also like stand up one morning with your eyes closed in the same temperature. And in that moment, you almost wouldn't know the difference, like which situation you're in, like you're sort of just like like sort of just waking up, like feeling the sun, like being sort of like, hearing the similar bird sounds and things. And like in that one instant, like there may be no difference between the two. Like obviously as the day moves on, it's like vastly different, but like there's these moments of time which we can extend to be larger and larger, where like right after we eat a meal, like we feel the same, like we feel hungry before and then full after. And this is an experience we had every day, like in both, backpacking trip or basic. And then slowly, like the experiences almost like merge until there's like just a few things that were tweaked, where like we didn't get to necessarily decide as explicitly when we were like asleep, or sleep for that many hours. Like maybe it's like a certain number of hours that was shifted, but the differences like kind of shrink a bit. And then we sort of view, at some point maybe you cross like the 50% line, where it's like 50% of the experience or more is like the same, and it's more just about these disconnected smaller experiences that like we feel it's a connection. Like we feel like basic training was from start to finish like a hard thing, and but then you could view it as like a series of smaller difficult experiences with somewhat regular life like in between. And that's it's an interesting then, because then you're like, well, my whole life is like that. Like there's some moments where I really have to push hard and I'm uncomfortable, and those moments happen like sometimes when I'm just sitting in a chair, like I've sat too long, and for a split second I experience like discomfort or something. But I don't think that like that discomfort is connected to other, because I weave through this other pattern of being more comfortable, and then I sort of don't think that like I was uncomfortable the whole day. I just think there were these brief moments or something. And I don't know, it's just interesting how, because sometimes we do want to feel discomfort, but it's like, what if we sort of just, it's interesting to like think about that stuff. Yeah. Like I just like that connection between the two. Cause it's almost like, if we then in that case, if we stand silently in our room with our eyes closed, like in the morning, we can experience that, like, we could be in any country in the world, in any room, climate controlled room or otherwise, or like hearing any sort of bird song or whatever. Like we could be anywhere, it's like, so to have that experience in that moment of just standing there, just having woken up, our location, the time or whatever is kind of arbitrary to that experience. And so then it's like, yeah, it's like, so it's kind of like,
that's
yeah.
So your state of mind and your location actually do matter in that present moment. So that's where I would say that's different. Your boot camp and waking up with the pack on, your eyes closed, similar temperature, your whole experience leading up to that moment, how your state of mind, the amount of stress you're under, shapes that experience and what you perceive in that moment. It's very, very different than when I stand up backpacking, eyes closed, same temperature, when I'm at peace in nature and free without any stress. They're very different. Like different experiences.
Like the stuff that's leading up to it is different, and it causes us to feel different in that moment. But yes. I guess what I wonder though is like I guess it's interesting that like we could make like a super sharp transition over to the other experience. Like we could like have all this negative. Like that's what's interesting though to me is like
no, I don't. Because, not sharp. No, So you take away the boot camp, you're super stressed there, and then the other one you're not. I don't think you can make a sharp transition from one state of mind into the other unless you're fucking crazy and you can flick a switch. The thing is, it's lifestyle, so it isn't going to be a flick of a switch. And the entire time you're talking, even when we were talking about like the pursuit of something and like Buddhism came to mind, what keeps coming to my mind, forefront of everything, it's lifestyle. So it's lifestyle that shapes our experiences and our well-being and our state of mind. And that's not an instantaneous thing that we can change in our mind. Like we don't flick a switch and all of a sudden everything's better. Lifestyle takes work. And you have to understand the different components of lifestyle in order to enact them. And then you need to have discipline to actually follow through in order to have a healthy lifestyle. It is all intimately connected, all the different parts of a healthy lifestyle. For instance, adequate sleep, water intake, diet, exercise, family, community, stress reduction. So, like meditation, not living in a stressful environment. And if you are, then knowing coping mechanisms to help lower stress. Personal boundaries for your relationships and for work. Super important for also keeping stress low.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the physical aspect of that, like our brain is in a certain state. There's certain chemicals, and it does take time for those chemicals to shift and stuff. So it couldn't be like instant. But I guess my personal feeling so far though is like what I was saying at the beginning about how I sort of feel that every experience is like kind of equivalent. And so then then it's like even if like there's different experiences leading up to like the backpacking and the basic, and the brain is in a different state in both instances when we're like standing there, eyes closed, awake, I feel then that perhaps there is no difference between being completely at peace and being under like an intense amount of stress or whatever, because like both being at peace and being under stress are just experiences and are valuable in their own way. And all I can do is have those experiences in that one instant and not really place judgment like on the experience. And so then so that's for me personally, that's the extra layer that I guess I would add, is that like it's my conscious decision to place judgment on the experience that I'm having. And if I don't place judgment on the experience, then it's just an experience, and it's sort of then become like I sort of allow myself to like interchange them in a way that then I can sort of decide like, you know what, the judgment that I'm going to place on this experience is this judgment because I feel like placing that on it, and it's sort of arbitrary in a way where for me it satisfies it. Like it's a messy enough system that it's like I can play around with these and come out ahead, you know. Like I can feel fulfilled. I can like find a path to feeling fulfilled that doesn't include like the passage of time or something. But I guess I can't do any of that yet. Like I'm sort of still piecing these things together. But yeah, well, like what you're saying makes sense, that like the real in path through in reality to these things is putting the right inputs into the body to shift the brain's like chemicals and these things to get to a state that is like a real physical state that can't just be like swapped. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, because that's sort of I feel it's like up to the person how far along they want to go with like, because I guess the problem for me that I often run into was with that, then like, why does doing anything matter? Or like, why do we take care of ourselves? Why do we do anything? And I feel like I'm sort of approaching a solution to that it's perhaps like it's not possible to do nothing, because even like the state of being completely empty and doing nothing is like a thing that we can do. And so then we sort of just do whatever we feel like in the moment. And then retroactively we say that like, that we were proud of our decision or something. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have thoughts about that?
Well, I can tell you doing nothing doesn't work.
But isn't that meditation? Like when I say doing nothing, I mean isn't that what they say about meditation? You try to empty your mind, and so like making your mind blank. Isn't that sometimes like a goal?
Yeah, but to what end? I mean, I can see people doing it to kind of like calm their mind and to center it, so it's not always in the past or in the future, and so you can be present, and it can like calm the nervous system, because people live in a constant state of stress. Their sympathetic nervous system's always going crazy, which leads to a whole bunch of hormonal issues and disease over time. So meditation, clearing your mind, it's a great practice. Thoroughly recommended to anybody. But the idea is to obtain a state of peace in your mind, train your mind to chill the fuck out. Meditation is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just, or rather, the tip of the pyramid of healthy lifestyle. There are so many other things that we can be doing that we need to do in order to find peace, and that is healthy lifestyle. And I already said it. Now imagine a pyramid. The ground, the foundation is your sleep. Not 7 hours, 8 hours to 9 hours of sleep a night. That requires sleep discipline, which after this thought, I'm going to have to go because I need to respect my sleep and honor myself from now on, because I realize the cycle and I get into this bad loop, which I can't go into right now because sleep. I get into this growth cycle. I start growing and pushing boundaries. I stay up late to talk to people, and then I suffer because I lose sleep, and it breaks my lifestyle. So lifestyle is the foundation. The base of the pyramid and the big chunk of the pyramid, I would say 2/3 is your diet. Diet is so friggin' important, it's unbelievable. And it's because of what it does to our hormones. I mean, it's the fuel for our bodies. It's the driving force in nature. Everything is eating or being eaten. When you take away civilization, when you look at the animal kingdom, fucking food. Animals are driven by hunger. They do shit because they want to fucking survive, because hunger drives them to eat. Right? For us, it's super important to fuel our bodies correctly. There's a lot of garbage out there, and eating incorrectly fucks up our hormones and makes us sick. Causes diabetes and other diseases, hands down, proven science. You get your diet under control, I'd say the next big portion of the pyramid, physical exercise, moderate physical activity daily. We have evolved to be active. We have not evolved to sit in our asses all day looking at a fucking box of lights in it. Or we not evolved to drive everywhere and only walk short distances. We are supposed to be on these fucking legs all the time. Our calves are like a second heart to pump our blood up from our lower extremities. We need to be moving, and when we're not, it's making us sick. It's hurting us, it's harming us, it's causing stress on our systems. I feel it. I feel anxiety when I sit too long, when I stand still too long. The sit-stand stations, they're fucking garbage. What you need to do is you need to get up all the time. Anything, you want to be stationary and you want to work all day, get a fucking office treadmill and walk the entire time you're working. I mean, I've done it for 7 hours. Man, it's amazing. But we've evolved to be active. Our body craves physical activity and rewards us for doing physical activity. And it constantly grows and adapts too when we face new challenges, hypertrophy, and doing anabolic activities. Even aerobic, obviously, aerobic activities are important for the heart. Anaerobic is for muscle growth and release of testosterone and growth hormone. And the tip, so outside of that, I mean, there's stress reduction, the tip of the pyramid. Personal boundaries, saying no to stressful environments, meditation. So this is the tip. Did I say iceberg again? No, the tip of the pyramid, the very top. Not just the pointy tip, but just that top portion of a healthy lifestyle. Without the rest of the pyramid, good luck trying to fucking meditate when you're sleep deprived and your body's craving nutrients because you're starving yourself or you're eating garbage and your body's super stressed and your hormones are out of whack because of that. Or when you're physically, you feel lethargic because you're not active. There's other problems with that too. But good luck trying to meditate when your body is just completely fucked. The body and the mind are attached. You gotta have the lifestyle in place for your body and your mind to be healthy. And when you do that, I can promise you from personal experience, it is very easy to clear your mind. It is very easy to not be affected by stress. It's super easy to have energy. I have tons of energy now. I'm empathetic. I seek out good people and community and family, and like I want to contribute. And it's because of a healthy lifestyle. And I can't just stress how important it is. And it keeps coming to my mind, our entire conversation, like this whole like pursuing the next feeling, like think about what the Buddhist monks do. I mean, they sleep, they have a good diet, they have physical activity, they beat the shit out of each other every day. It's great, but they have lots of physical activity. They also have family and community, which is super important too for a healthy lifestyle. That's in that pyramid as well. Sort of like, I don't know, it's like the bricks. I don't know how to, without family and community, not the bricks, but without family and community, and this is from experience too, like when I moved away all the time because of my job, we get mega stressed by not belonging, by not having family and community, because we evolve to be social creatures. So it's a stressor when we don't have that. So family and community is like super important.
Yeah, definitely like all this stuff you're saying, like having the energy that sounds like the place people want to be. Like they want to have the energy to like make the connections, to be with family. And then there is like there's like a step of like making sure to like appreciate all that, which I guess like people forget to do that or something.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
when you're in a good place, it's a lot easier to have gratitude for what it is that you have, and to be patient with yourself when things don't go the way you intended. It just broadens your perspective. It keeps depression and anxiety at bay. Depression and anxiety happen because of hormonal issues. I know I'm pushing my limits here with the time here, but I think this is important. Like depression, if you don't sleep properly, your serotonin levels get fucked up, and you eat poorly and you have crashes, that can lead to depression. Anxiety, if you
I guess with that, we should be careful not to like sort of blame people. Like if people have those things, we shouldn't like say that it's their fault, for not like sleeping long enough or something. Like I feel like we should always maybe that's the cause of some of it, but we should always leave a door open for like maybe some people just have that condition and they can't like get rid of it, just so we're not like. But yeah, I think you're right that like it can be mitigated, and in many cases maybe it stems from that a little bit, like these things you're mentioning.
Depression is a hormonal imbalance. There are some people that don't have the ability to produce serotonin, and they need medication, and they need to have the right amount of medication, hands down. I know someone like that. Outside of that, of course, there's trauma, and there's experiences like that can lead.
It'd be hard to tell too. Like it would be hard. Like it'd be if someone doesn't know if they produce like not like they might blame themselves.
They can be tested. They can be tested.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, it's like getting tested is important. Yeah.
But so like trauma, yeah, reliving that issue can cause pain and suffering and bring you back to that point and keep you in a negative place. And whether or not it's the trauma itself that causes the depression or the effects of the trauma, how it impacts your sleep and how it constantly produces cortisol because you don't feel safe anywhere you are, because you feel like you can be under attack at any point in time. Let's say if you were raped or assaulted or whatever else. In those experiences, so in that moment when you relive them and you're constantly on alert, then yeah, your hormones are working against you because cortisol is always coursing through you. And then when you're trying to sleep and you're up all the time because of nightmares You can't get the sleep. I mean, I've been there too. It's hormones. The fucking trauma it impacts your hormones. Now, if you can defeat your trauma through therapy and through having new experiences and whatever works for that person, I know it worked for me. Then, yeah, sleep and diet can lead to depression. I mean, those are the causes of my depression now. Straight up. And I don't eat properly, I get depressed. It's happened last week. I know exactly why it happened. I know it was because I wasn't sleeping properly. I had a sleep debt. And I started to eat high carbohydrate foods, and I fucking crashed, and I was depressed for the rest of the day. There was no other cause. And I knew exactly why it was happening to my hormones. So on that note, brother, I need to honor myself and go to bed because, practice what you preach. But no, seriously, like sleep is the foundation of a healthy lifestyle. So I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you then. Yeah.
Okay, bye, man.
Bye.